My husband became an alpha and divorced me after I disclosed our marriage and got an STD. I'm a 37-year-old man and I married my college sweetheart, Tina, a 37-year-old woman, 10 years ago. A decade ago we knew each other for a total of 16 years. We dated for 6 years before tying the knot. She was not only my college sweetheart, she was my soul mate. About a month ago Tina's friend had a lavish wedding in Las Vegas. I was invited but had urgent work commitments that week so I couldn't attend. The wedding was a week-long affair. When Tina returned home she seemed unusually quiet. I asked her if everything was okay, and she claimed she was just tired from all the wedding stuff. However, things took a worrying turn when Tina began to act distant. Not only did she become quiet, but she seemed irritated around me. Our conversations became strained and our sex life disappeared. Whenever I tried to initiate some affection, she snapped at me and said she wasn't in the mood. It's been nearly a month since she returned from the wedding, and we haven't shared an intimate moment. Adding to my concerns, I discovered something in her bag yesterday that made me uneasy: a hospital bill. Tina had taken an STD test the day after she returned from the wedding. It struck me as odd. Why would she do that, and why didn't she tell me? It's an obvious red flag, and while I love her deeply, I'm not naive enough to ignore such a huge warning sign. I haven't talked to her about what I found, but before I do, I want to gather all the facts. I don't want to confront her without having all the information. I value my marriage and my relationship with Tina and I don't want to ruin it on impulse. I did a lot of research on this topic and in the process I came across a site where many people shared stories about discovering their partners secretly taking STD tests, often because of cheating. That's why I'm here to share my story and get some insight. I admit I feel guilty about this, but a few days ago I went through Tina's phone without her knowledge. I checked all her messages and call logs but I didn't find anything suspicious. It was all clean. I even looked at her social media accounts and they were clean too. I'm not sure if I should feel bad for doubting her or if I should feel reassured that I'm staying vigilant. I thought about reaching out to the friends who attended the wedding with Tina to see if anything unusual happened, but it was Tina's friend's wedding, so I didn't do that. It was Tina's school friend's wedding, so none of our college friends were there. While I'm friends with her school friend, I'm not close enough to ask questions without Tina finding out. This situation feels strange because in the last 10 years we've been together, Tina has never given me a reason to be upset with her. We've always been open and honest with each other. I forgot to mention that the bill showed that she scheduled the appointment the day after she returned from the trip, but the test date mentioned was yesterday and the report date is today. Was yesterday and the report date is a week later. Tina's behavior had me worried since she got back from the trip. I checked her phone a few days ago but found nothing yesterday. When she came home after the test she seemed very tired and tense. It raised suspicion when she carefully stowed her bag in the closet. Normally she leaves it on the table where the couch is. I pretended not to notice but kept a close eye on her every move. When she went to the bathroom to shower I checked her purse and found the hospital bill for an STD test. Update 1. Hi everyone, I realized I didn't provide any background information about Tina and me. After reading the comments on my post I didn't think it was relevant at first. However, I have responded to some of you in the comments, but for general information here are some details. Tina and I graduated from the same college. We are both software engineers working for different IT companies. We have a 6-year-old daughter. We have a 6-year-old son. We have a 6-year-old daughter. We have a 6-year-old son. We have a 6-year-old daughter. We have a 6-year-old son. We have a 6-year-old daughter. Year-old. Financially, we had a stable and decent life. We were a happy family until Tina decided to screw it all up. After I discovered a medical bill for an STD test in Tina's purse, I couldn't rest easy. The comments on my previous post along with stories from other victims all pointed to one thing: Tina was cheating on me. At first I wanted to wait for the test results before confronting her, but it became unbearable. Tina noticed I was acting different. She probably thought I was reacting to her rude behavior, so the day after my last post, we sat down at the dinner table and when we started to eat, Tina asked me again if I was okay. I nodded and said yes, but after a while I couldn't hold back and asked, "How did your STD test go?" She looked shocked. I repeated, "Yes, the STD test you took a few days ago." She went pale and asked how did I know. She asked how I found out. I told her it didn't matter. Then she came out with the classic line, "I can explain." I stared at her and told her to go ahead and explain. She sighed, took a deep breath, and I patiently kept looking at her. She started to cry. When she started to SB, my heart sank. I realized my suspicions were correct. Tina held my hand and asked me to trust her. I said I could trust her if she told me everything. Instead of talking, she moved her chair closer to me, leaned on my shoulder, grabbed my arms tightly on my shoulder. She grabbed my arms tightly and cried. I let her emotions flow. In our 16 years together I had never let her cry alone. Even at the slightest sign of tears I would comfort her with a hug, but this time I sat unmoved. She tried to come closer, holding tightly to my arms, but I didn't hug her back. I remained as cold as ice. When she finished crying she let go of my arms and confessed everything that had happened during her friend's bachelorette trip in the week-long wedding celebrations. Long wedding reception. The first 2 days were a bachelorette trip to Vegas. The event manager had arranged for dancers, male escorts and more. I learned many new terms that day that I had never heard before. She told me that the bride and her other friends had indulged in all these services from the very beginning of the first day, but Tina had resisted. Her friends had pressured her, but she held back. She saw the bride and her friends having a wild time fulfilling their fantasies with these escorts, but she refrained. I asked her if she did it because she felt out of place. She explained that her friend had convinced her that she hadn't been with another man in the 16 years we'd been together, so she needed to try something new. Her friends went on about how these escorts had special techniques for unique pleasures. Tina resisted, but her friend pushed her to accept an explicit massage, if you know what I mean. Tina finally gave in to peer pressure and agreed to the massage, believing that a massage might not be considered cheating, might help her avoid peer pressure, but the masseur turned out to be an escort. After the back massage he started to undress her. She resisted, but he insisted that it was part of the explicit massage, so she reluctantly undressed, confessing that she lost control during the massage and cheated on me. But that was not the end of it. When Tina shared her experience with her friends, they cheered her on and encouraged her to explore further. They promised her complete confidentiality, ensuring that I would never find out. Tina felt that since she had already cheated on me once, there was no point in resisting further. She decided to delve deeper into her fantasy. I appreciated her honesty. Even though I knew I could not forgive her, not even for a single act of betrayal, I just sat there lifeless, trying to process what Tina had revealed. I knew my life was about to change. The woman in front of me was the love of my life, which made her betrayal all the more painful. Tina nudged me to say something as I hadn't said a word since her confession. I buried my face in my hand. She tried to hold my hand and lift my face, but I resisted. Finally looking at her, I told her I was going to file for divorce. She was shocked and said I shouldn't make an impulsive decision because we have a son. I screamed at her to stop pretending to be like this. I yelled at her to stop pretending to care about our son and our family. If she really cared, she wouldn't have done what she did. I grabbed my car keys and left the house, brushing off her attempts to follow me. I drove to my boyfriend's house where he was living alone due to his recent divorce, which is another story in itself. I had a drinking binge until I passed out the next morning. I called in sick to work while my boyfriend went to the office. I lay on his couch looking for divorce lawyers. I stumbled upon a lawyer who happened to be my boyfriend's lawyer. I sent him a message and he replied within a few hours. I asked if we could talk on the phone. He sensed the urgency in my messages and called me back within 30 minutes. His next available appointment was about 4 days away, but since we knew each other, he suggested we meet for a drink that night after work. I agreed without hesitation. So one night Tina confessed to her cheating, and the next night I was with my lawyer discussing her betrayal. I was with my lawyer discussing my divorce. He advised me to sleep on my decision to see if my emotions would subside, but I decided to give her a chance. I assured him that I was making this decision deliberately. I told him the terms of my divorce and he promised to start the paperwork immediately. I asked him to expedite the process because I wanted to get through it as quickly as possible. To anyone listening, it may have seemed like an impulsive decision, but it wasn't. I love Tina, but I value my self-respect even more. I explained that I trusted her more than she trusted me. I explained that I trusted Tina with my life, so if I was going to make this decision, it was a serious one. I couldn't let her off the hook for cheating. The next day, I came home in the afternoon, thinking she was at work, but she was actually home. When she saw me in the last few days, she rushed up to me and tried to hug me, asking where I had been for the last 2 days and why I hadn't responded to her calls and messages. She kept apologizing, but I remained unmoved. She gently held my face with her palms and urged me to speak, saying that my silence was unbearable for her. I asked about the whereabouts of our son and she told me that she had taken him to my parents' house for a few days. I managed to free myself, retreated to my room and locked the door. If I had let her in, she would not have allowed me to pack, so I hastily gathered some of my clothes, my laptop, tablets and essential items and left the house. While she was in the kitchen, she followed me outside and tried to stop me, but I didn't look back and drove away. I checked into a hotel and then went to my parents' house. It's been almost a week now and I'm working out of the hotel. I've been given permission to work remotely for this month. Tina has made numerous attempts to contact me through various means: calls, texts, voicemails, showing up at my work, visiting my friend's house and even going to my parents' house to see my son. Today, one of our mutual friends called me and asked if I was okay. He mentioned that Tina had been looking for me all over town. I asked him if she had told him the reason, and he said that whoever had asked Tina had explained that I had left the house. After a heated argument about something, I assured him that I was safe but needed some time to cool off. A few hours ago I called my lawyer to check on the status of the divorce papers. He informed me that they would be sent to me in the next few days, so I am currently waiting for them to arrive. I will provide an update once I have resolved this matter. Update 2. It took me a bit of time to post this update, but I wanted to sort everything out first, so this will be my last update. So after 10 days. From D-Day, the divorce papers finally arrived on a Saturday. The next morning I went back to my house and the situation remained unchanged. Tina was lying lifeless on the couch while my son was playing in the living room. He ran up to me and hugged me as if we hadn't seen each other in a week. This time Tina remained rigid. She didn't hug me back. Instead she gave me a cold, distant look. I played with my son for a few minutes and then left him to play by himself while Tina looked at me with a serious expression and inquired what I wanted. I answered her question with a grin but remained silent. She then asked if there was anything she could do to make things better, to which I still gave no answer. After some time she began to speak, saying, "Look, I understand that I hurt you. I understand that I've hurt you and messed things up and I feel guilty about it. I've admitted that what I did was a serious mistake, but you also need to understand that I could have avoided the STD test and you would never have found out. I took the test for your safety and abstained from closeness to protect you. I love you and I am truly sorry for what I did. You should also recognize that I honestly confessed the truth when I could have easily lied, so instead of running away from this situation, we should work together to resolve it. Please tell me if there is anything I can do to make this right." I finally broke my silence and responded with a simple yes. I told her that she would have to confess her infidelity in front of both of our parents. She gave me a stern look and I challenged her, saying, "Can't you do it?" She took a deep breath and agreed that if it would make me happy and help resolve things, she was willing to give it a try. I instructed her to go ahead. After staring at me for a few minutes and seeing the determination in my eyes, she grabbed her phone and called both sets of parents one by one, inviting them to join us later that evening. After the calls, she looked at me with a defeated expression. I wanted to avoid it, but deep down I knew it might be our last meal together as a family, so I joined her at the table she set and we all ate together. It was hard to ignore the sadness on my son's face as he realized that this might be one of the last times he would ever have to face his mother. I understand that some may call me selfish or chauvinistic for ending our seemingly happy family because of one mistake by Tina, but I don't care what others think. I believe that when my son grows up, he will appreciate that I put my self-respect over my love and feelings. It's important for a child to grow up with parents who are separated but happy, rather than with frustrated parents trapped in a broken marriage. Our marriage had crumbled the moment Tina was unfaithful. After we ate lunch, Tina took our son to his room for his afternoon nap. After she put him to sleep, she returned to our bedroom and I was busy scrolling through my phone. She made a move to touch me, but I stopped her and asked if her STD test results had come in. She assured me that she had a clean bill of health and began to make love to me again. Knowing that it might be our last time, I gave in and it turned out to be the most exciting and passionate encounter we'd had in a long time, after which I was overwhelmed with guilt and sadness, but also a strange sense of satisfaction. She was the only woman I had been with for the past 16 years and I loved her deeply. It tore me apart to think of pushing her away forever. I also regretted our intimate moment because it might have given her false hope of reconciliation. She fell asleep in my arms as if she hadn't slept well for many nights. I looked at her face and wondered how our relationship had come to this point. I must have drifted off while still watching her, and we woke up to our son knocking at the door. I let him in, and we played together on the bed, creating a brief moment of joy. During this time I briefly considered reconsidering my decision and giving our marriage another chance, but I pushed that thought aside and got out of bed. It was already evening and I went into the living room to wait for our parents and in-laws to arrive once everyone had settled down. When everyone had settled down, Tina called me into the kitchen and looked me in the eyes and asked me if I really wanted to go through with this. I reaffirmed my decision. She then went outside and told everyone that she had a confession to make. She told them that she had been unfaithful to me at her friend's wedding, but emphasized that she had been unfaithful to me at her friend's wedding. She told them that she had been unfaithful to me at her friend's wedding, but insisted that it didn't mean anything, that she loved me and would do anything for our relationship. She went on to explain that she had already confessed this to me and that I wanted her to tell everyone as well. It all happened so quickly that my parents initially thought it was some kind of joke. I made it clear that it wasn't a joke and that she was going to tell everyone that she loved me. When I discovered the STD test bill in her purse, her parents looked down, clearly embarrassed and angry. My parents, on the other hand, seemed disappointed but remained silent. I announced that I had something important to share as well. I had filed for divorce. I took out the divorce papers and began to read through them. I agreed to give her the house where she and our son could live, and I would find a new place to live. We would share joint custody of our son, and I would contribute to child support. After reading through the papers, I handed them to her. After a quick glance at the papers, she signed without hesitation. Her parents left immediately without saying a word. My parents left as well, asking if I wanted to stay with them for a while before they left. I nodded and said I would consider it. Tina locked herself in our son's room, feeling not only embarrassed, but also ashamed. Tina locked herself in our son's room feeling not only embarrassed in front of both sets of parents but also defeated as all her confessions and humiliations seemed to be in vain. I packed the rest of my belongings and left the house. I wanted to see my son but I knew Tina would not allow it. That is why she locked herself in his room. After that evening Tina did not contact me with any calls or texts about what had happened. About 45 days later, we went to court and our divorce was finalized amicably without either of us contesting the terms. We didn't say a word as we parted. It's been over a week since the divorce was finalized and I've been busy finding a new place to live and getting settled. Our paths may cross because of our son, but it will be purely transactional. I still feel empty and frustrated because I know I hurt and humiliated her as well. Maybe we both got what we deserved. Alright, that was a fun story. Now let's move on to another exciting one. Stay tuned and let's dive into story 2. Hey guys, I'm a 28-year-old guy. About 3 weeks ago, I had an affair with a woman. About 3 weeks ago, I found out that my wife, Rose, 27, who I've been married to for less than a year, had been cheating on me. When Rose and I started dating, she told me that she had recently ended a 3-year relationship with an ex-boyfriend and was currently single. I was also single at the time and had been dating for 2 years because my previous relationship had left me emotionally scarred. Given our shared experiences of past relationship pain, Rose and I made a promise to never cheat or do anything to hurt each other. I knew I would keep my end of the promise and hoped Rose would do the same. We dated for 2 years, and a few months before tying the knot. Being with Rose brought me more happiness than any of my previous relationships. She had a natural talent for humor and could always bring a smile to those around her. The first few months of our marriage were filled with laughter and joy, and I looked forward to spending time with her while Rose worked as a social media influencer and ran her online store. I had a job as a data analyst at a large tech company in our city. I'll admit, there were days when my work became too demanding and I couldn't spend as much time with Rose as we had promised in a month. Her favorite treat was Snickers, and giving her a box or a few bars always brought a smile to her face. 6 months after our wedding, my company allowed me to work remotely for 3 weeks and spend 1 week in person. I was excited about this change because it meant I could finally spend more time with Rose. Her work as a social media influencer allowed her to work remotely as well. During the first 4 weeks of working remotely, I began to notice something unusual about Rose. It was common for her as an influencer to be on her phone a lot, but there was something more. Whenever I got close to her while she was on her phone, I noticed that she would quickly switch between apps whenever I approached, even when I wasn't right next to her. These occurrences happened quickly, but she remained unaware that I was watching her. One day my frustration reached its limit and I decided to confront her about it. She brushed off my concerns, claiming that I was being paranoid and that she had nothing to hide. On that particular day she was working on her laptop and even invited me to take a look to allay my suspicions. I complied, but I found nothing suspicious. She even shared her conversations with me of all her social media accounts that were strictly work-related. This was the first time in the 2 years and a few months we had been together that she had willingly allowed me to view her chats. During our relationship, we had mutual access to each other's phones, although I never felt the need to inspect her client chats because I considered them confidential. I trusted her completely. However, her uncharacteristic willingness to show me her laptop activity and phone conversations raised red flags for me. I had a keen sense of when someone was acting suspiciously, and with all the stories I'd come across here on Reddit, I couldn't ignore the gut feeling that Rose was hiding something from me. I decided to hold off on addressing her secretive behavior with her phone and laptop, opting instead to continue monitoring her actions to make sure I wasn't making unfounded accusations before taking any further steps. A few days after our confrontation, Rose decided to host a small gathering with some of her influencer friends at our house. We all had a wonderful time together, but I couldn't help but notice that even as we enjoyed our meals, shared laughs, and had a pleasant time, Rose seemed a bit preoccupied. She was often busy texting someone, so often that even her friends began to notice, and eventually one of them felt compelled to inquire about the person she was constantly texting. After the guests left and we began to clean up, Rose brought up the subject of the client she had been texting throughout the evening. She mentioned that the client had proposed a year-long collaboration as a brand ambassador. Normally, such a conversation would be perfectly normal for a married couple to have, but for us it felt unusual because Rose rarely discussed her clients or their specific needs in our respective professions. She tended to her work and I to mine, so her initiation of the topic struck me as odd. It almost seemed as if she was trying to provide an explanation for her behavior before I could question her about it. I didn't say much in response, just offered a smile and pretended to participate in the conversation, but my mind was already racing with countless thoughts. While I suspected that I wouldn't find any evidence of infidelity on her phone or laptop, I conceived the idea of EAS dropping on their conversations, there was an app that allowed you to monitor someone else's phone activity, listen to their calls and read their messages. To do this I needed to install the app on both my phone and hers. The reason I was so anxious to find out if Rose was being unfaithful, even though her behavior and attitude were unchanged, stemmed from my past relationship where I had been cheated on, and even though I had expressed my love for Rose and my belief in her fidelity, a part of me remained vigilant for any signs of infidelity. I scrutinized everything, even the mundane, because I didn't want to miss any potential warning signs, as I had in my previous relationship. Once I had successfully installed the app on both of our phones, I began my investigation. Indeed, Rose communicated regularly with her clients, but there was another person with whom she exchanged daily messages, and she was careful not to call him or return his calls whenever I was home or we were together. 2 days after I paired my phone with Rose, she spoke to this person for the first time. He happened to be the same ex-boyfriend she had mentioned she had broken up with. Upon first listening to their conversations, it became clear that this person was aware of Rose's marital status and my remote working situation. On that particular evening Rose asked me to go out and pick up some groceries because she claimed she had forgotten to pick them up while I was on my way to the store. Their conversation took place, he inquired about my whereabouts and Rose informed him that I had gone out to buy groceries. She also confessed that she had deliberately pretended to forget the groceries on her way back so that I would pick them up to give them more time to talk on the phone. He kindly warned her to be discreet so as not to get caught, to which Rose replied, "Oh, Jackie would never leave me, he loves me too much to leave me, poor thing." Afterwards they laughed together and discussed their plans to meet later that evening. By the time I got home, she had already prepared herself, makeup and clothes on. She mentioned that she was meeting some of her friends and expected to return before midnight. She kissed me on the cheek, seemingly sincerely, and left. As soon as she left, I reached out to one of my friends and revealed the disturbing revelation. He offered to accompany me to the restaurant where Rose and her boyfriend were planning to meet. Upon our arrival at the restaurant we witnessed a close scene. Rose was cuddled up with her boyfriend and he was attempting to feed her. I confidently approached her making sure she noticed me and promptly left the establishment. Without hesitation, I left the restaurant and as soon as she registered my departure, she rose from her table and followed me. At first she tried to maintain her innocence, but when she saw my friend recording the scene, she realized that she had been exposed. I remained silent in response. My friend and I drove back home, and Rose arrived shortly after our return. She entered the house and tried to engage me in conversation, but I was focused on gathering my belongings, as we were co-tenants. Instead, I gathered my belongings and left with my friend that night. After that evening, Rose inundated me with numerous messages and incessant phone calls. After weeks of ignoring her calls, she sent voicemails filled with yet another series of falsehoods. She claimed that her ex-boyfriend, whom she had been having an affair with, was living with her. She concocted a story that she was cold because of the skimpy clothing she was wearing and that he was trying to protect her, thus explaining their closeness. She probably believed that I would accept this narrative. Unbeknownst to her, I had synchronized our phones, allowing me to continue to monitor her conversations to this day. Just a few minutes ago, 3 days ago, I stumbled upon some new revelations. It appears that Rose has been engaged in a contract for over 2 months now, and it comes with a handsome paycheck. Interestingly, her affair partner was an employee of the very brand she was endorsing, so there seems to be a kernel of truth in what she mentioned. In addition, I learned that she was disparaging her own company's products. I suppose their romance was rekindled when he re-entered the picture. However, the crux of the matter was that she was not the only one who had an affair. The crux of the matter, however, lies in the fact that Rose is unquestionably not supposed to be involved with any of the company's employees or be involved in maligning the company's reputation. If the organization were to discover this, her contract would likely be terminated and her reputation severely damaged. Now, as for the video my friend shot, I didn't put it online as originally intended. I have mixed feelings about it over the years. Over the years, Rose has meticulously maintained an impeccable public image, and while she has occasionally faced online criticism from a disgruntled fan, she has not had any significant issues with the brand she works with. At this moment, I am struggling with a maelstrom of emotions, and I am considering how to hold her accountable for manipulating me in this way. My intention is to post the conversations between Rose and her friend, along with the video of their interactions. I hope that no one will attempt to dissuade me from my course of action, for my decision is final. Often I find myself wondering why people choose to get married in the first place, especially given the fact that numerous women do not seem to appreciate the sacrifices we men make for them. In Rose's case, I had envisioned building a family together, but it has become apparent that she shares similarities with many other women who want to have their cake and eat it too. Update 1. It's disheartening to realize through your feedback that influencers often have a high rate of infidelity. I chose to marry Rose because she seemed like the right person for me. More than that, I fell in love with her character, not her profession. We dated for almost 3 years, and I took my time to really get to know her before we tied the knot. At that point, I thought I had a deep understanding of who she was. My only consolation is that I took decisive action as soon as I began to suspect her. If I had chosen to be the trusting husband who generously gave her the benefit of the doubt, I might still be stuck with her naively. Now, as for my revenge plan, here's an update. I posted the video of Rose and her affair partner that was taken at the restaurant where they were intimate. The video did not go over well with her fans, who called her a cheater. The good news is that the company she was associated with has terminated her contract and her boyfriend has also lost his job. In addition, Rose and her boyfriend had said derogatory things about a certain product she was promoting, claiming that the company was ripping people off with their inferior merchandise. When all of this unfolded, it not only tarnished her standing with the company that terminated her contract, but it also had a domino effect on her other business dealings. Her video and chat went viral so quickly that other brands were forced to cut ties with her, leaving her with nothing. In the end, she was left with virtually nothing beyond the damage done to her reputation as an influencer, and the headlines included her name in connection with the video of her infidelity. It was quite satisfying when friends contacted me to confirm what they had seen online, and I confirmed her authenticity before I shared the video and conversation online and formally sent it to her parents. To signal the end of our relationship, I also made some unflattering comments about Rose, calling her an embarrassment to herself and to womanhood, and then blocked both of her numbers to avoid her calls. 2 days ago, Rose caused a scene at my workplace, causing a disturbance that I informed security that I would not meet with her, but she refused to leave. She was not even allowed into the building. I have not met her in person since the night I moved out of our home. I have been keeping tabs on her via Facebook and Instagram to watch how everything has unfolded for her. Thank you all for your valuable suggestions and advice. I will provide another update soon. Update 2. It's been over a week since my last update, and I was going to wait until after the divorce was finalized to share more, but something significant happened yesterday that I feel compelled to share. Rose discovered that I was the one who leaked the conversation on video online. Her parents may have informed her, but I can't be sure. Furious, she arrived at a friend's house, where I have been staying since leaving my apartment. Upon her arrival, she began screaming, accusing me of ruining her life and vowing to ruin mine in return. Her language became increasingly rude and her anger flared when she noticed that my friend was recording her again. Fueled by her anger, she grabbed a large rock from my friend's lawn and threw it at the window where my friend was filming. I went outside to confront her, and during our heated exchange, she retrieved a small penknife and proceeded to slash all 4 tires of my car right in front of me, after which she used the tip of the knife to etch a long mark from the front door to the back door, taunting me with, "Well, how do you like your new car?" Then she left. I have never been so angry in my life. At this time I cannot move my car until I replace all 4 tires. I can't move my car until I replace all 4 tires and I can't drive it with a conspicuous scratch running the length of it. My friend has strongly advised me to take legal action against her and he has recorded everything from inside the house. He also intends to sue her for the damage to his window and he is quite serious about it. I have decided to take legal action against Rose because I will not let her escape responsibility for her actions. I will not let her escape responsibility for the damage she has caused, and she will pay the full cost of replacing all the tires and restoring the paint to my car. As for her social media presence, she has been noticeably quiet lately. The frenzy surrounding her infidelity and the disparagement of the brand she endorsed has subsided, but she has not been engaging in her usual Instagram live videos, reels, and other activities. I should also mention that many people have unfollowed her, mainly because the video commenters noted that they used to envy our marriage and how she portrayed us as the perfect couple online. They found it hard to believe that she would engage in such behavior during our first year of marriage, which is traditionally considered the honeymoon phase. Anyway, what's done is done. I will not tolerate infidelity just to maintain a facade of perfection in the eyes of strangers. I will provide another update once everything is resolved. Thank you for your time. Update 3. Hello everyone. It has been a while since my last update and I wanted to wait until everything was settled before posting again. I appreciate your patience and support for my lawsuit against Rose. I'm thrilled to be able to share this update because things have turned out just as I hoped. My boyfriend and I filed a lawsuit against Rose for damages and the court ruled in our favor. Can you believe that Rose actually tried to deny that she broke my boyfriend's window and slashed my tires? She even suggested to Ed that I was motivated by jealousy because she left me for her ex-boyfriend and that I had been lying to her about it. She even suggested to Ed that I was motivated by jealousy because she had left me for her ex-boyfriend and that I had sabotaged my own car to frame her. She seemed to forget that she had been videotaped by my girlfriend and that the video contained all the evidence we needed. When we informed the judge of the existence of this video, she asked to see it. After watching the footage and realizing that Rose had lied, the judge was visibly irritated. She asked for an estimate of the cost to replace all 4 tires and repair the damage to the paint on my car, which I promptly provided, following your advice to get a comprehensive estimate. The judge then ordered Rose to pay for these expenses on the same day she faced a case with my friend. Rose's violent actions and the rock she threw at my boyfriend's window. The judge also ruled in my boyfriend's favor, leaving Rose quite upset. I couldn't help but revel in her frustration. I had expected her boyfriend to support her, but he was nowhere to be seen. 2 weeks after the court case, the divorce papers were ready and I had my lawyer send them to her. She wasted no time in signing them and we finalized everything. It was somewhat amusing to watch her try to play the victim in a situation of her own making. I am happy to announce that Rose is now officially a part of my past. Unlike her who goes back on her word, I have no intention of having any further dealings with her. I have blocked her contact on all of our shared social media platforms.